you'll never get anywhere. I always like to, and I'm not perfect and I fail at it all the time, but if we can go into conversations thinking about how we can have the next conversation, how I can be kind to you and listen to you and disagree with you at the same time, but try and come to, some understanding, help me understand more, or I'll help you understand more, and then have the next conversation where we can come to.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely impossible for any of us to claim that we have all the information necessary to make all the proper decisions on every single subject out there.
Yeah.
And you might consider yourself an expert on a particular topic, and you're not, probably. You're really probably not.
Real academics, people who are intellectually honest anyways, they will change their minds when new evidence comes out. That's the whole of what science is supposed to do, right? They're supposed to, we have this, we believe this based on this evidence. And then when new evidence comes out, oh, well, we adjust and we see how it all fits together from there. So it's not really any different with politics. We just, we want the best for people, and we have different aims of doing that, but we can figure out things that are better, and we shouldn't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, like tax cuts. Yes, I am for no taxes. I'm a voluntarist. I don't believe you should be forced to pay taxes, but am I going to rail against tax cuts? No, I'm not going to do it.
I mean, and I believe that that's a perfect utopian world, and that we should absolutely push for that. And it's going to take some time to get there.
There's no such thing as a perfect utopian world.
Well,
I mean, there isn't, but, I think that there are better solutions. I think that a lot of times people say because of the system that we have, and it's based on taxation, that, they're afraid if you remove that, well, what happens? How do you take care of people? And I get that. That's an honest concern, right? Because right now, some people are being helped, and they're called corporations by the government.
Generally speaking.
So how do we continue to help people? And there are solutions out there. There are a lot of things that people have come up with that fit better and help better. Charitable organizations, they have to be more responsible with the money that you give them, because they don't have unlimited pockets like the government. Because the government, when it needs more money, what does it do? It just goes, you have to pay more this year.
Yeah.
I don't care what your situation is at home and what you're going through.
We need our built-in automatic 10% budget increase every year.
Exactly, or more. So this is what we're saying, is that we want to help people. We might have a different ideal and a different way of going about it, and a different foundation than, say, the two-party system. But maybe you should listen, because what we've got isn't working.
Well, and I would argue that what we argue is way more in line with things that the founders would argue than anything that we're talking about right now.
Well, the founders were radicals. They were outside, like they thought that we shouldn't have just one king being able to set all these rules and do as he pleases, that the people themselves should be governed by themselves. So they tried to come up with a system for it. Right. And my ideal system, the voluntarist type system, I always explain it like the governance as the consolidated school districts. So I know many of us are older and remember when your parents could go down to a school that was in your neighborhood, and they could talk to the principal if something was going on and get it changed, come up with a solution together, maybe have a meeting, figure it out as a school for what's best for that school.
Right.
Well, then they started consolidating school districts. And ever since then, you've seen power get centralized to these school boards further and further away from the people that the school is supposed to be serving. So it's the same with government. Once we keep centralizing, it gets further and further away, then communities lose. Why should Alabama have to live like California? They should both get to live how they want, but they shouldn't be able to force each other to do different things.
Absolutely.
So
it's the same way with your neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. And we have, in this country, we have probably 11 or more different cultural nations, basically. So why should we be able to, here in Tennessee, force someone in Iowa to do things the way that work best for us? But that's what people do with the federal system. They go to the federal government and say they need to be doing this.
Well, that's the problem. And people don't want, people are too freaking lazy to have a conversation with somebody they disagree with and come to some sort of a compromising position. Instead, what they want to do is elect an official to force the other group to do it. And that's what we have. And
violence by proxy.
It is. And it is violence.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to bipcot.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
Is your child defiant, independent, annoyingly inquisitive? After a long, hard day of following the rules, who wants to deal with troublesome kids? 49% of children suffer from oppositional defiant disorder, or ODD. Symptoms of ODD include independent thought, rampant creativity, and failure to submit to authority. But now there's a solution. The good people at Pilfer can help you with their time-release, once-daily capsule, Compliacin. Your child won't be able to form his own opinions, let alone express them. It maintains your child's ability to go to a state-run school and perform simple tasks around the house. You won't have to worry about parenting, and the school won't have to deal with your kid asking questions. Compliacin. You'll go from this.
Quit telling me what to do! Quit telling me what to do! Quit telling me what to do!
To this.
Good morning, Mother. I love going to school. And this week we're learning all about how the government is our federal family and they're here to help us.
Compliacin. Talk to your school psychiatrist and ask for it by name.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Peaceful Anarchism on the Voluntary Virtues Network on theconsciousresistance.com and solpodcast.org. Peaceful Anarchism is covered by the BIPCOT No Government License. This allows reuse by anyone except for governments and the agents thereof. You can find out more information for this at bipcot.org. So today I am delighted to have Sherry Voluntary. She's a voluntarist, and she has a YouTube channel, Sherry Voluntary, and she's on Facebook under Sherry Voluntary. And then you can also find her work under a Facebook page called Little, the word little spelled out, little L, and then L, the letter L, Productions. And you can find her work there. She's also on Twitter under Sherry Voluntary. She's coming in from Tennessee. We're going to talk about her path to voluntarism, homeschooling, unschooling, government schooling, peaceful parenting, and fun stuff like that. So, Sherry, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I think I first heard of you. I think Larkin Rose posted his recent interview with you, and
yes.
I listened to that, and I'm like, wow, this was really cool. And I like your style. And I listened to the Eric July interview. That was really cool too. I'm a big fan of Eric's as well. I listened. I interviewed him twice, I think. Yeah, once, and then the second time when he released his statism music video.
Oh, cool!
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. I love metal, so I enjoy it. My kids call it ear poison, but I love it.
Well, actually, I'm the opposite. I'm definitely not a heavy metal guy at all. I mean, I like rap. I mean, my brother is kind of a rapper a little bit.
Oh, cool.
And so he kind of got me into that. But yeah, not really into metal too much. But I certainly could appreciate the lyrics and the music. So I definitely make exceptions. So yeah, I mean, I'm just happy that people are putting out different messages on whatever medium they choose, either it's poems or books or documentaries or heavy metal. It doesn't matter to me. It's just or podcasts or YouTube channels. It's just the way that we transmit ideas through various mediums on the internet, and it just makes the world a more beautiful place.
Yeah, I agree. I was just actually in my chiropractor's office the other day getting adjusted, and that song by the Police, Spirits in the Material World, came on. And I was like, this is anarchist as all get out. Like, this is a really anarchist song. I mean, if you go back and listen to the words, it's really awesome. It's like there's no political solution, and you just have to go back and listen. It's a great. I always liked that song, but it didn't really you know, I'd sing along when I was younger, but then now I heard it, I was like, oh crap, you hear things new again when you become an anarchist. Everything's a little bit new.
Yes, that's so true. So in that spirit, if you could get into your path to voluntarism, how you came to this philosophy, and what books, podcasts, or figures influenced you along the way.
I started out as a pretty neocon Republican. I was one of those people that I was always a little odd because I was really involved in ROTC in school, and I almost went into the Marine Corps after high school. Thankfully, I didn't, but I always had sort of that side, and then I was also involved in the arts, and I was kind of into a lot of alternative things. So I don't know. I definitely had that side to me, but I was never really, I was always kind of trying to do what was expected of me, I guess. And then, so I was a big neocon, and I was really, really in support of the military and, you know, the police, things like that. And I felt like the Republican Party left me. Right? I didn't feel like I left the Republican Party. I just felt like, well, I'm for small government, and George W. Bush is not for small government. Like, what's going on here? So that's when I moved to Tennessee from Colorado. I'd been living there, and moved back here. And I started listening to a radio show out of Atlanta called Neil Bortz, the Neil Bortz Show. And he branded himself as a libertarian. I would say he was probably more big L libertarian for sure. But he started talking about eminent domain. And I had never heard about that before. So I was really just shocked that the government could just decide it wanted to take your property, right? Because you own your property, right? I thought at the time that you could own property. And so I started calling myself a libertarian, even though I didn't really know what a libertarian was for a while before it took a while. So then I think my husband started, we were both kind of talk radio junkies. Like, I listened to Rush every day. And, you know, I hate to say that now. It's almost so weird because I couldn't listen to it today, even if I wanted to. But he started listening to a show out of Minnesota, I think it was, called the Jason Stapleton Show. And Tom Woods would sometimes sit in for Jason when he had to be out. And Mike heard him on there and said, hey, I like this guy. Looked up his podcast, and then it was the old 6 months to anarchy. Like, it really didn't take long. We read a lot of Ayn Rand too before that, and so we were kind of already getting primed. We were reading some of the things that generally lead people to anarchism, but it didn't take long at all once we started listening to Tom and reading Rothbard and things like that. So.
Yeah, that's great. I never listened to Rush Limbaugh. I can't admit to that. to me, what growing up, I was really indifferent towards politics. I didn't care about it. I was interested in other things, you know, like chess and piano and acupuncture and alternative medicine and that kind of stuff. Philosophy, astronomy, cosmology. That's what interested me. I didn't care about politics at all. But yeah, the 2008 elections. I didn't really vote either because I didn't care. And my mother's like, I didn't care who to vote. And I just asked my mother because she really wanted me to vote. So I said, who should I vote for? She's like, Obama. It's like, all right, I'll go vote for Obama. But then after that, I started learning more about what government is and laws and taxes and all that. And never voted again. And to my mother's shock and dismay, because I come from a very strong Democrat / socialist type background. But yeah, books. Yeah. Ayn Rand. I actually never read any Ayn Rand books. I know quite a few. Libertarians, anarchists are influenced by Ayn Rand. Yeah, I never actually read any of her, but I have read some excerpts, and there's one. I think it's from. What's her main book?
Atlas Shrugged.
Right, Atlas Shrugged. Right. I think Atlas Shrugged, where there's like a big long speech about money. Is that Atlas Shrugged?
I think it's Atlas Shrugged. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
She was quite a. She had a brilliant mind. I don't particularly love her style of writing. I read Anthem, which is a much smaller book with a lot of the same principles, and I love that story. But I never read the bigger ones or any of her philosophy, like capitalism, things like that. My husband did, but I didn't.
Yeah, so
I didn't care to get that technical.
Yeah, so I started getting into precious metals and central banking, learning about that, and this guy Mike Maloney from goldsilver.com, I don't know if you're familiar, he made Hidden Secrets of Money documentary episodes all about economics, free markets, precious metals, central banking, and it's excellent, very informative. And then he made one video like just saying, reciting that whole speech from that Atlas Shrugged book about money. Very beautiful, right. very poetic, and I really came to understand and appreciate the function of money in a civilized society, and how that is completely necessary, not only to catapult humanity towards greater levels of prosperity, but also as a way to constrain people who are seeking political power, and constrain them from profligate spending, war, deficit spending, and all that stuff. And so that's why the Federal Reserve and other central banks had to have been created in order to shrug off and break those chains that were restricting them, right? So you really begin to understand the really vital element of money that the function that it plays in society, right?
Yeah. I think money gets such a bad rap.
Yeah.
For one, because you have this sort of Judeo-Christian view of where money, the love of money is the root of all evil, and most people, they conflate that to money being evil, but that's not what it says. It's that love of money. So anything that greed is not a good thing. So well, necessarily, but. But I think that people don't understand that it's if you have a chicken and you want to trade it for some wood, it's much easier to evaluate the value of things if you have a standard that can be used for, and it keeps things peaceful. I think that's what people don't understand, is that money really is a vehicle for peace, because if I know I'm not getting gypped, because I see the value, the market determines this value for my chicken and that value for the wood. Okay, I'm going to need 2 chickens. I'm going to give, and you don't have to carry all that stuff around. You don't have to figure it out. You've got this representation of that. Now, of course, with fiat currency, we don't have that. There's a lot of problems with it, but the basics of it are very sound and very, they lead to that peaceful, nonviolent ends that we want. So
yeah,
I think it gets a really bad rap.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, economics and especially monetary history is something that I love to teach people, about precious metals and fiat currency and central banking, because so many people have no idea at all about that. It's like that's one of those aspects of the economy that people usually do not have any opinion whatsoever. It's like everything else that you talk about, war. People have an opinion about that. You talk about taxation. People have an opinion about that. You talk about immigration. People have an opinion about that. You know? You talk about economics, fiat currency, precious metals. Nobody cares.
They glaze over in front of your face.
What are you talking about? Who cares about that? Let's talk about more important things.
Economics is something, too, that people really don't understand what it is. They think it's math. Yeah. And of course, there's some math involved, I guess, but mostly it's life. It's the way life works. And I think the more I learned about economics, the more beautiful it was to me. And it really is more about how people's incentives, why people do what they do, what incentivizes people. It's a really, really interesting study in human nature, I think. So I don't know. I'm not a deep diver into economics or anything. You won't, I'm not going to read Human Action or anything like that. I mean, I love Mises's what his impact has been on the world, but I've not read, I probably never will read Human Action. I don't know, but I don't have any plan to right now. There's so many other things that I want to read and that are just, not as deep of a dive, I guess.
So talking about like educating people in economics, a wonderful tool for that, especially when you're talking about kids and homeschooling, is the Tuttle Twins.
Yes.
Do you own any of those? Because those
every single one of them that he has. Oh my
God, me too. I just got the recent ones.
Yes. I think I'm pretty sure we got them recently, but yeah, my daughter's even in one of them. You know, he had the GoFundMe where you could donate so much money. And yeah, she's in.
Wow.
Oh gosh, the Golden Rule one, I think, is the one it was. So yeah, she told me she gets up and reads the Atlas Shrugged one. At one point, she's not doing it anymore, but she said, Mama, I get up and I read my Atlas Shrugged book every morning because I just love it. And she loves the Golden Rule one. Yeah. And, you know, we got the monster that ate Jekyll Island. Yeah. But, yeah, that one's, she hasn't really gotten into that yet. She's read them all, but they're fantastic tools. I think grown-ups should read them, honestly. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I think there's another book I got by another author who's a voluntarist, and I can't think of the name of it right now. We read it several months ago, and I've forgotten. But there are people out there producing great content, you know, for kids and teaching them these things that most adults just don't get. And so our kids are really on fire. Like my daughter at her, we homeschool. And she does a co-op 2.5 days a week now so that I can have a little time to work. And they say the pledge at her co-op and she wouldn't say it. And so she said to them, the kids, this is second grade, right? They're pressuring her to say the pledge. And she wouldn't say it. And they said, Evie, you should say it if you know it. Like, you know, they were just really so I talked to her teacher and her teacher said, well, that's not right. Like her teacher was really sweet about it. And we sat and we had a great conversation about it. And she said, you know, when you think about it, it's kind of Nazi-ish. Those were her words. It's kind of Nazi-ish, the pledge. But I thought, well, that's a great, like she's already recognized that this thing they're doing is indoctrination. So, you know, she was really sweet about it and said she would handle it if there was a problem. But, you know, the kids can make a stand because I told my daughter, I said, look, if you want to, you can do it. I'm not going to, like, this is your decision. You get to decide. And so if you want to do it and you don't want to deal with the hassle, the pressure, that's fine. That's your decision. I said, but if you want to take a stand, that's fine too. And it's okay because that's what you really believe and what you really want to do. And we should do what our convictions tell us to do, like what we feel like is right. And so she said, Mama, I'm not going to do that. So it was a really great, I really felt proud of her for doing it.
Sure. I can see how you would feel proud. It's like you're not telling her to sit down, but she's doing it of her own volition, right? That she's refusing to. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, so what I was gonna say is there's another book. I don't know if you were thinking about this one by a voluntarist, Anam Pashienta. Is that it? 3 Friends Free.
Oh.
No,
that's not it either. I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, that's Anam Pashienta. He's on Facebook, another voluntarist, and he wrote this book, 3 Friends Free. And yeah, wonderful book. I got that too. You should get that. Awesome book. A little book about how government grows and grows, and initially initially is for people think it's for protection, security, then it just grows to immense proportions. And wonderful illustrations. So yeah.
Cool.
My kids.
I love that. I think that's entertainment is such a great way. Like I love what Eric July is doing, because entertainment really it gets to people we could never get to otherwise. And books and, any literature, music, especially the more kind of like there are a lot of great artists that are libertarian, but, to get to the music industry standard and what that sounds like and, kind of more mainstream is difficult. I get that. And so there's not a lot of people who are at that level. And so it's really, really great to see someone where people who don't know anything about libertarianism are going to a concert and knowing all the words to like statism or something, or praxeology or something like that. So it's I think that's amazing. I think we need to encourage more artists and support them, just to put that stuff out there.
Yeah, and there's also another book that I got for my kids when my daughter was 1 and my son was 3. It was called A is for Anarchy. Have you heard of that one?
No, I haven't.
And wonderful book, and so it's basically the whole alphabet, all different kinds of fun words for the alphabet. So the first one was A is for Anarchy, and basically this kid throughout the book just having fun, doing whatever he wanted, just having fun, and then at the end of the book it's like, and then if you want to, just because you can rip up this book, just because if it makes you happy, and guess what? The book eventually got ripped up.
Wow, that's cool. That's interesting.
Yeah, and get this. So my 1-year-old daughter, she just started speaking, but she heard this word anarchy keep saying over and over again. So she started saying, "Ankiki, I want to be Ankiki."
Oh, that's cute. That's sweet. People indoctrinate their kids into some wild stuff. Why can't we teach our kids that to actually live peacefully and produce things in the world that help humanity and think. I think the best thing you can give your kid is a dangerous mind, and that's gonna be with them forever. So I think those things help to start them on that road of being an actual thinker.
Yeah. So I want to hear about your homeschooling life and how you do it. But I'll just say one thing, which is one of the reasons why I love homeschooling and unschooling is it puts kids more in charge of what they do, and it sends the message to them that it's important for us to know, for the parents to know, what are you interested in, what do you want to do, and we'll help you pursue that, and it kind of empowers them. Whereas when a child goes to government school, they're not empowered at all. It's like, I don't care what you want to do. This is what you have to do. This is what you have to know for the test. Who cares what you want? It's completely disempowering. So I feel like with my kids, they have a strong sense of self and confidence. And so when we go out into the world and we're interacting with other people, my daughter is unafraid of other people, especially adults. She just goes up to anybody. Hi, what's your name? She says hi to people, completely unafraid, not timid at all. And I think that's probably one reason, is because we really try to, respect their decision and their thoughts and what they want to do. So, yeah.
Kids have a great inner compass as to sometimes, who's not so great and who is. I mean, of course they're young and they make mistakes, but generally I think they're pretty smart about people.
Sure.
And so I homeschool. I have an almost 16-year-old and she's just turned 8, daughter. So, there's quite a spread between them and they're quite different. So we actually do 2 different kinds of homeschooling with them. And I don't know did you want me to tell how I started homeschooling?
Please. Why you started and what you do.
That was really child directed. It was something we sort of admired for a long time, but we thought, well, that's a lot of work. We're not going to do it. We were worried that, I even for the first couple of years we homeschooled, I kept thinking, I hope I'm not screwing my kid up. I hope this is okay. And, not anymore. I really, really get it now, and I'm glad we did it. But between 4th and 5th grade, so our son Ronan went to school from kindergarten to 4th grade in public school, and then he came home. It was between this 4th and 5th year, the summer. It was getting time to get ready for school, and he said, "Mama, can we just not go back to school? I really want to homeschool." So he was a shy kid, very, kind of a sensitive child. And, he had he didn't get bullied or anything like that, but, by one of the teachers he did, but not the kids. But it just was we had no family time. That 4th grade year was really terrible. And then some of the things they started teaching them, he came home. We had to write a note to his teacher about the Articles of Confederation. There was something, I can't remember the details, but it was basically saying that people don't actually have a right to have a gun. I can't remember how it all went, but we were like, this is not right. So we decided, well, you know, we could give it a try because he really wanted to do it. And we thought it would be great for our family. My husband is Canadian, so we try to make it up there to see his family as much as possible, and we could travel, and it would just, you know, we saw some real benefits to it. And so we did it. And at first we kind of pieced together a curriculum, and our son wasn't having that. He was like, he came to me like 2 months later, and he's like, I need to know where I'm at and what my goals are and how far along I am. And like, he really, that's the kind of person he is. So we went with the Ron Paul curriculum. And I love it. I'm very much like, I love the self-directed learning that he gets. And so he, you know, they have classes and things, but he also does a lot of his own projects on the side. He brews kombucha and mead, and
oh, shoot, that's cool.
He did a mead for me. If you're listening, NSA, like he's not a bootlegger or something. Don't stray from our house. But yeah, and he wanted to be a mycologist, which is the study of fungus and mold. Right. And so, but then he said, well, I think I probably have to work for the government, and I don't want to do that. So what? Yeah, and he's into aquariums. He's like built several aquariums. He built one for his sister. So there's all these things that he has time to do that are his interests. Cool. And then, you know, the Ron Paul curriculum teaches them to really, they encourage people to get in and out of college, like clep out of everything you can if you're going to go to college, or be entrepreneurial and start your own business. So I really, for him, it's been a great fit. For our daughter, it was a different story. She is a much more independent-minded person. She does not like to be told what to do by anyone. And even when she was little, like, she wouldn't let us teach her to swim because she kept saying, I know how to swim. Because she was not going to be told what to do. Like, all these things. She's something. So with her, my producer, Dan, his kids are unschooled. And I wasn't really sure about that. So, you know, I kept thinking, I'm having a hard time with this. I don't know if they'll actually learn anything, or she will. And so I thought, well, we'll try it, because I had tried to teach her to read, and she was just so, she just gave me so much pushback about that we really couldn't get anywhere. And we were miserable. We were making each other miserable. I'm like, why won't she just listen to me? So I decided to try unschooling, and I was amazed at how well she did. She taught herself to read because she loves Minecraft. And she wanted to be able to interact with the other kids on Minecraft. So then she taught herself to type, and we got our little typing program so she could learn how to do it, you know, and she also taught herself spelling was important, because some of the other kids would make fun of how she would spell things. So she learned to spell, and now she's a really good speller. So I was really, really impressed by that. So that was the first year. And now she's in a co-op this year, which is 2.5 days a week. And I really just needed some time where I didn't have her here and her needs, and she could go to this co-op and have her friends and things. And so we decided to do that. But I chose this one in particular because it's very cooperative. They co-parent with you, and you're still in charge of what your kids are doing, and they just kind of help guide you. I mean, they have a curriculum that they've put together, but you know, you're still, they really see themselves as just like a supplement to your parenting, you know, what you want done. So I've really enjoyed that co-op. It's given us both some time where I can work and just kind of focus. But I don't know if we'll do it again next year. She really liked unschooling a lot, and she learned so much. I'm always amazed at how much the kids learn when they do what they want to do.
So okay, so your daughter loves what's it called Minecraft, you said. Yeah. And she taught herself how to read. Yeah, my son, he's also a big Minecraft guy, and we also use. Oh, by the way, I'm a chess teacher. I don't know if I mentioned that to you.
Awesome. He was on the chess team in when he was in public school.
Your son?
Yeah.
Does he still play?
He does. He loves to play chess, but
does he play online?
I don't think he has in a long time. Maybe he could play you.
Yes, I play a lot online. Actually, I teach chess. So I have students that I teach online, in person, and I also teach group classes in schools, like private schools. I'm actually going to teach at a Waldorf school starting January next year. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that. But both of my kids know, because I'm always playing chess all the time. We go to the park, I whip out my chess, I get my chess books. I'm always playing chess, attracting people. And so I didn't really sit down and force them to learn chess, but they just picked it up because they see me playing. That's it. and so my son, 8 years old, he definitely understands the game much better than my daughter. And much deeper. And I mean, they love to play each other all the time. And actually, they see me doing chess puzzles all the time on my phone. And so I just saw them, like, just yesterday. My son was composing chess puzzles for my daughter to solve.
That's cool. I love it when you see their relationship as individuals together, separate of you. Because my son, like, he's teaching my daughter to play the guitar. He just learned, and he said, hey, you should learn to play the guitar. So he's been teaching her. And it's really great to see that, because as a parent, I don't know, I feel like one day we're not going to be here, and they're going to have each other, and it's important for me. So I love seeing them develop a relationship that is totally separate from us.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that they have the time to do that as well. The guitar is something my son wanted to do. And so he's been teaching himself, and he's gotten quite good. And now he's able to share that with his sister. So, those are things that you might not necessarily get the time to do when you're in public school. So I'm really thankful for the whole, homeschool movement that, has kind of started, because in this area too, there's a lot of course, really uber conservative homeschoolers, but there's a lot of secular ones too. So it's gotten much more broad. It's not, people often think when you homeschool, they think, you're like, you should wear a bun and no makeup or something. I don't know, but at least in this part of the country, there's a certain look, a certain kind of person that people think homeschools, but there are a lot more secular homeschoolers as well who aren't doing it for religious reasons.
Yeah. I mean, what I love about what we do, I mean, I just say we do a hybrid homeschooling, unschooling. I mean, because we don't follow a specific curriculum. We like dabble in, like, chess. There's a chess website called chesskid.com. Definitely recommend for your son. He would love it. Although maybe it's a little bit, like childish maybe for him. Like, there's other more adult websites he might love. Sure. And then there's MathBot. You remember the guy J.W. Weatherman? I interviewed the guy. And
MathBot's great.
Yeah, I've been doing that MathBot. My son loves that, because my son, he understands, like, like your son, you said logical, like that. That's my son, logical with math and chess. He understands it, and that's how his mind works. Whereas my daughter, she's much more, physical and athletic with her body. Yeah. And so
mine too. That's funny. Our kids are similar.
Yeah, I know, it's funny. And my daughter's big into gymnastics and ballet. Dancing, and singing, and that kind of stuff. Yep. Dancing, she loves it.
Mine too. We do hoop dancing, and she just performed in front of, I think it was a crowd of 250 people. She did a hoop dance. We only had about 6 hours of practice, so it wasn't her best performance. But she just got out there, and she was like, before the show, she's like, I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm just gonna go up there and do my best. I'm like, awesome. That's cool. It's like, that's all you can do, right? And she's like, yeah. So, I mean, they have the opportunities to have these great experiences. And I know kids in public school do that as well. But I don't know. I think kids who are homeschooled really get to sort of, if the parents are doing it and are the way we do it, they get to kind of direct their own path and really develop the things that they love, which might be completely have nothing to do with us. I mean, Minecraft, like, I'm not a big gamer. I like, old like Nintendo games and stuff, but
Nintendo,
my
what's
son
that?
Smash Bros. Yeah. But my son actually built a Raspberry Pi, and he made it into one of the, I forget what you call it, but it has all the like retro an emulator. So I have like several, like maybe 100 or 150 games from the old Nintendo
Wow.
and Sega and things like that. I enjoy that stuff. I never get to play it anymore. I don't have time, but
wait, is that on the computer?
Yeah, he made it, the emulator, and then somehow I had it hooked up to the TV and I could play. That's all I know.
Wait. So how do you play with controllers or with the laptop or what?
With controllers, yeah.
Wow. All right.
Controllers. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, so just those kinds of things that they can explore, and I think you can't underestimate the family connection that our family has gotten. Like, I know my kids so much better than I think I did before. Right. Because I'm with them more, for one, but I'm a different person than when I had my son. I was very authoritarian, and I had a big life change in between them, and so I parent very differently. And I think some of the best lessons that you learn are the ones that your kids teach you, because they can be the most frustrating people in the world because they are often just like you, only less reasonable, you think. So, it can teach you a lot about yourself, but also just seeing them kind of grow into their own person and the unique skills that they have. I've learned so much from my son because he's very different from me. He's an introvert and I'm an extrovert. And, my daughter is a lot like me, and I really enjoy her company, but I've learned so much from my son because he just sees the world in a different way than I do. And that's been really, really wonderful. So I think those real family time and ties that you get to each other make everyone better.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the things that really is important about homeschooling, I think, is just like you said, the time that you're able to spend with your kids, right? Because most people, when they think about government school, they think about kids go there to be educated, to learn things, important things about life and all that stuff. Whereas the way I look at it is just like, I'm giving my kid to a stranger for a large part of the day. And then when they come home, I can't even spend quality time with them because they have to do homework, right? And so it's time robbed away from your kids, you being able to be with them. And that's terrible. That really breaks up family bonds. And so, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think that public schools are probably one of the things that people think are the least detrimental thing to society, but I believe they've probably been one of the most detrimental things to ever happen to society, is the idea that someone loves your kids more than you do, or as much as you do, and will want to really educate them. I mean, especially when you get into what the philosophies that we're involved are learning, and that, you see how it's really it's a device of the state to teach how to be good, obedient citizens. It's not really to educate people. And, that used to be so more where, when you had the one-room schoolhouse and kids, they went and learned the 3 R's and then came home and, worked on the farm. And it wasn't an all-day thing. And that was generally a town getting together and hiring a teacher to come in and teach their kids these things. So that, that's not the state. Where now, we in Tennessee a few years ago, they had like a questionnaire for the kids, and it was asking kids, do your parents smoke? Do they smoke inside the house? Does anyone in your house ever yell? How many drinks a day does mommy have? Like these weird, very intrusive things. And luckily there was a stink made about it, but a lot of people think that's just A-okay, and that, that we need to protect children from their parents. And I know that there are times when kids are abused. That's true. But on the whole, I think most people want to take care of their children. I even think most people who abuse their kids don't want to be child abusers. So, there are a lot of interventions that can happen that don't include the state whatsoever. And we don't need that kind of intrusion into our lives and oversight, because who loves your kids more than you do? Nobody. Nobody loves my kids more than I do. So I'm going to try and do what's best for them.
So let me ask you, what was the reaction with your family members and your husband's family members when you guys decided to homeschool?
They were all like actually really good with it. My parents are conservative Christians, and they thought that was great, because they see, we don't necessarily teach what they thought it was, I guess, or whatever. But they were really for it. Like I didn't get any problems. I know people who have, or especially a lot of single parents who are co-parenting with someone that is really against homeschool, and that makes it very difficult. Sure. But yeah, we didn't get any pushback. There were some questions from people, but not really any. Like, everybody thought that was really cool. They think homeschool's good. Like, generally around this area, homeschool has a good reputation. Knoxville is very homeschool friendly where we live. And so there are tons of homeschool groups and activities and classes. We took science classes at the zoo for years and at one of the children's museums, and my daughter takes one at the nature. We have a nature center, and there's tons of stuff for homeschoolers to do, and there's all kind of discounts on things for homeschoolers. So it's a very homeschool friendly place. But the only people who have ever really questioned my parenting decisions have been strangers in line at Walmart or something. Like, why aren't you in school? Are you sick today? Did you have a doctor's appointment? And
right.
Like, no, we're homeschooled. And they're like, oh. And then they'll turn to me like, how do they get socialized? I actually ended up walking away from one lady in Walmart one day because she was getting rude. But I said, humans have been around for, according to some people, thousands of years, and according to others, millions of years. And, public school's been around, 200 years maybe? I don't even know. Like, I think we can figure it out. Like, I don't think we need it. We seem to have made it this far okay. Oh, but she was she was probably a school teacher is what I'm thinking.
You know what would have been a great response? Sometimes when people are very serious, but still their question is slightly idiotic, I kind of turn into a joke, because that's just the way I am. So, I would have said, you're right. If the state is not making sure that my kids don't have any friends, they're not going to have any friends. I guess you're right. There's no way for them to make friends.
Yeah. And, I think, too, one of the things that people don't account for that I think used to be much more common is the intergenerational friendships. The reason we moved back to Tennessee is because my kids being close to their grandparents was really important to me, to one set of grandparents. And my husband's mother is much, much older than my parents. She's older than my grandparents. And so, they were younger, and we live here in the United States, so it was just easier. We moved back here, and that has been just a beautiful, beautiful thing to see my parents blossom into grandparents, and how much they just love my kids. But also because we homeschool, like my husband or my son knows a lot of, we live in a neighborhood where it's mostly older people, and he knows so many of them. He'll walk out and he loves to walk in the neighborhood, so he'll talk to them and, take out their trash, whatever. But he has these little friendships going. And I just, I see these other friendships developing with my daughter and other people that are not necessarily her age. My son, I'm saying son, my producer's youngest daughter is 12. And like, they're kind of like, she's taken my daughter under her wing as like a little sister. And it's a beautiful thing. She just spent the night over at their house last night, and she just, their daughter takes such good care of her, and really just, they love each other. And so they have the time to do that when they want. Like, she didn't have to have school. Like, you have school in the morning, you can't go. And she does do the co-op, but it's, there's just so many relationships that really build community. Like, if you really want better communities, you need more relationships and communities. And the state doesn't do anything towards helping build community. It breaks down community, and the public school system has been a huge, huge factor in that. So I really just love seeing those relationships, and my kids learn things from other people, and that, you know, it's a community of parenting, like, you know, a village.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing when you see that.
Yeah, there's a comedian, I forgot his name, but there's not many comedians that talk about homeschooling, right? But this guy did, I think, because he was homeschooled. And one thing that he said was funny was, you know, the socialization thing. You know, everyone says, how are you going to socialize your kids? Right. And then he's like, what's the most common reason that kids get in trouble in school? Socializing.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
That's the funniest thing. It's like,
yeah, I always got, like, my class participation was always great, but my report cards would always say, you know, Sherry talks a lot and she socializes a lot. And I would always hear, you know, school isn't for that. School's not for socializing. School's for learning.
That's funny.
But yet, yeah. So they don't even know what they're talking about.
That's funny. And the other thing is, I find that you know, people who advocate for government school and they're like quizzing and interrogating homeschooling parents, it's almost as if they're like, you know, asking these questions to evaluate the intelligence of the homeschooling parent. Like, right. Did you do your research? Are you smart enough to you know, all these kind of questions. Whereas most likely the parent that has researched the idea of, you know, how do I educate my child the best is probably the homeschooling parent. You know, the parents who send their kids to government school, what do they care? The state's going to do everything. It's like, okay, maybe we'll move to a different district, but, you know, you live where you live and you send your kid there, you really got no recourse. You know?
Yeah, they totally give up their you know, parenting responsibility to make sure their kids get an education. Right. And that was one of the things, you know, people used to do is hire a tutor for their kids when they were a little older. Like, they didn't do that when they were younger. They waited till they were a little older, then they would learn French and, you know, the Bible and handwriting, all those things. So that was pretty common. And then you have, you know, more the socialization of, you know, the public school, the state wanting people. And I think it's Dewey, the guy in the early 30s, I think it was, who was big in the public school movement. He basically, it was because, I think this comes from John Taylor Gatto's work, where he talks about how they actually wanted to start the public school system like really in full force because they were worried about the Irish Catholics and Italian Catholics, you know, having influence over people, and, you know, they wanted to keep it more Protestant, and they wanted to be able to Protestantize those kids, and kind of, it's an interesting take on it, but I think that's, you always see the state trying to socially engineer what it wants for its benefit, not for kids' benefit. Clearly, I was reading a study once where they had taken kids and in a school, and they told some they were smart. They said, you're really smart. And they told the other half, you're hard workers. And then they gave them a test that they knew they couldn't do. And the kids who were hard workers did way better than the kids who were told they were smart. And then also, this is the one I was thinking of, where there was a principal in the New York City school system, I believe it was, and this was a long time ago when principals had some power in their school. He decided not to teach math until 5th grade. He just wasn't going to do it. Because it's frustrating to little kids to learn things that are too abstract. They can learn to count, but they're not going to really understand multiplication, division that great. So he started teaching them at 5th grade, and within a few months, they were caught up to people who had been doing math this whole time, and they had a better self view of how that they were able to do math. They felt better about it, because you hear so many people say, I hate math, which I'm one of those, but I had terrible experiences as a kid because I wasn't getting it. And I feel like, you know, I always felt, well, I'm just dumb and I can't get math. I just don't get it. But these kids didn't have but that hasn't spread like wildfire or anything across the country. So I think they very often do the exact opposite of what's actually good for kids.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that government school frequently extinguishes the love of learning, and that is so tragic because, I tell a lot of people, a lot of parents that I talk to who are considering homeschooling, they have the idea that, you got to know everything. Like you said, you got to be an expert in everything, I'm like, do I have to be a NASCAR driver to teach my kid how to drive?
Right.
Do I need to be, I don't know, what's the name of a world famous chef? I don't know, the Naked Chef. Do I need to be him, whatever his name is? I don't know what his name is. to teach my kid how to cook? Like, come on, we can't teach our kids the basics of life if we're not experts in every single field. It's so
exactly.
ridiculous.
What I need to do is know my child and know what they need the most. Like, and that's the saddest thing is the cookie cutter approach. It's forced collectivism. The school is, and kids get lost. They don't know. I mean, I experienced depression in high school because I was ready to move on with my life. I didn't want to be there. I could take care of myself, and I thought, well, I don't need this. And it was really tough. It was a tough time, and I think you don't explore and learn who you are because you've been sort of hedged into this one way of doing things, and it really can go. I was a very creative person, and school just it was depressing. That's all I can say. I never really loved school. So I don't know. I just think that if people would take the leap, like I remember I always explain homeschooling to people as it's like jumping off a cliff, because when you're coming from going to public school and that's all you know to homeschooling, it's like that because you're worried that you're going to mess your kids up and you can be afraid and because we've been taught that you really need the public school system in order to get the education that's going to make your kids succeed in life. And I think a lot more people are starting to see that that's not the case, especially with college. A lot of people are really understanding that you don't have to go to college to be successful.
Right.
But I just wish more parents, especially libertarian parents. I know a lot of them who say, I just couldn't do that. I couldn't, like, that's one of the things I get a lot from parents is, oh, I admire that you homeschool, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and I'm like, you couldn't be with your kids? I'm like, yeah, that's the upside to homeschooling is that you're with your kids all day, and the downside to homeschooling is that you're with your kids all day. But guess what? Like, that's just life. They're gonna be kids, and they're gonna do things that annoy you. That's just families. Like, we annoy them as well. So once you get used to it, like how unusual is that we are so trained into this one way of thinking that the way that families have been for thousands and thousands of years, where your kids are with you all the time, is suddenly something that I just can't do. Like, I get that mentality, but I really wish, especially more libertarian parents who don't think they could, would explore the opportunity, because I think it'd be just it changes your life in ways that you can't even articulate. It's just it's really so good for your family. I don't know what to say other than that. It's one of the best things that I think we ever did. So
yeah, I
really love doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I tell many people that I homeschool. I'm glad to talk about it with people, and people ask me a lot of questions, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful teaching experience for them because, like you said, we all grow up in government school. We almost pretty much everybody grew up in government school. So
yeah.
So it's so difficult to step out of that mindset, and so it sounds like your experience in government school is very depressing. Well, my experience, I wouldn't say it's depressing. I was apathetic. It's like just like I was towards politics. I didn't care. I didn't care about excelling, succeeding. I don't want to be successful in the eyes of my government school teacher.
Right.
That didn't concern me. What concerned me, or what I was occupied my time with, were things that I wanted to learn. So basically, what I would do is, like, I would be happy with mediocre grades, like 80s. That was me. I was happy with the 80s and just getting by. I wasn't failing. And so I use the extra time that I have to study things that I actually was interested in, like chess, like piano, like philosophy, Eastern philosophy,
Right.
Western philosophy, alternative medicine, like cosmology, astronomy, all this fun stuff that I loved. And that's what and so I taught myself
Right.
a lot of things during
Yeah.
school. So yeah, that's what
Yeah.
that's my most cherished memories. Stuff I learned
Right.
outside of school.
Yeah, I mean, and that I really was like that too. I'm an autodidact as well. Like I taught myself most things. I remember one year I was in high school and I missed so many days of school that I was going to fail. But I told the assistant principal when he came to me that it was against my religion to go to the doctor. So I didn't have doctor's notes. So he's just like, and he signed this paper and I got to pass. So
Nice.
yeah, but I didn't care about going to school, and school was a really bad experience for me from very early on. I had a lot going on at home, and I just didn't want to be there. And so yeah, something you said sparked a memory for me, and I was trying to remember what I was going to tell you. Now I've forgotten. So
No, just saying the things I was interested in during school. Astronomy, cosmology.
Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
I've read a lot. Like I've always read a lot. I read Dune when I was like 11 or something. Like I really.
Dune. What is it? Dune.
Dune by Frank Herbert.
Oh. Never heard.
There's a movie made of it too. With Arrakis and the spice. He was actually a libertarian as well, and it's a great book series. But I read a lot of mythology. I was really into that. Learning about plants, and there were a lot of art things that I like to do. There was just so much else that I was interested in, and it didn't have anything to do with, math or doing English for 4 years, a language that I speak just fine. And I write very well. So there's so much you don't need that it's just a waste of a kid's time. And I remember the first time I ever heard someone talk about not being in the public school system was a pre-algebra teacher that I had who he was an old Navy SEAL. And he said, I don't think you should have to be here if you can pass the test. If you can tell us that you can pass this test, you come in and you take it and you make, a good enough grade, you shouldn't have to come and sit here. School should only be for people who need it. And that was really, it still wasn't where I'm at now, but it was an introduction to, wow, people could like have all their day free, like do what they want. Like kids could do that, could, fill up their time with something else, something more worthwhile. Right. So yeah, most of everything that I've ever learned has been self-taught. And, people often don't, like my husband's colleagues will have a discussion and they'll ask me where I went to school, meaning college, and I didn't go to college. I mean, I went to photography school, but I didn't go to college, and they're always surprised by that because most people are in the line of thinking that, if you are educated, you've gone to college. If you can, carry on a conversation that's interesting about interesting topics, you must have gone to college.
That's funny.
And I love the look on faces sometimes when there's this really great conversation about something and they're like, well, where did you go to school? I didn't. I read. I watch things. I just learned.
I learned.
I've always been a good learner. I've always been very curious. So
right.
I think that's something, thankfully, that wasn't killed in me in the public school system was my curiosity. And I think most people are very curious, but the public schools really kind of kill that out of them. And it's a really sad thing. It really molds them into people that they're not. And I think that's why a lot of people walk around unhappy and still trying to find themselves. And, I get that. I get it's not easy, but it's, I think it has a lot more to do with the public schools than we want to maybe admit sometimes.
Yeah, that is that's what I tell people. The most important thing, the way I see homeschooling and unschooling, is that you're encouraging them to do what they're passionate about, and also just to have a love of learning, because if they have a love of learning, they're self-motivated, self-directed. Nobody needs to be behind them saying, work on this, practice that, study more. Nobody needs to tell them that, because they're gonna learn what they need to learn in their life, and that's it. And that's, I would say that's how I am. I learn things that I'm passionate about, that I'm interested in. Like I make money teaching chess. I didn't go to school for chess. I make money teaching chess because I taught myself chess when I was a teenager, and now I'm a chess teacher. Isn't that amazing? I think that's pretty amazing. Yeah. Like go ahead.
No, what you're saying, I think you're absolutely correct. I think there's a quote about, it's by a poet, and I can't remember which one now, but said that education is the filling of, or it's not the filling of a bucket, it's the lighting of a fire. And so that's really what you want to do for your kids. And I think the public school does exactly what you said. It teaches them, okay, this is the minimum I have to do to get by. It really teaches people to just do the minimums in life. A lot of people. And then you have the kids that kind of over excel in the public school, and the public school says, well, you can't do that. You really shouldn't move ahead any faster than the other kids, or so it's not a good fit for anyone. And you can ask anybody doing anything, any profession today, and they've probably learned something or learned most of what they need to know to do their job outside of college. Or I mean, my husband's always learning new things for his job, and he just goes and finds what he needs to know. And so I mean, I wasn't born knowing how to podcast, and you just learn the things you want to know in order to do the things you want to do. And so I really, everything about how people actually live combats the arguments against homeschooling. Yeah. There's just not a way that people live that and are successful that homeschool doesn't actually do. And, I read something too recently where a lot of colleges are actually courting homeschoolers now, because the kids generally, they're saying the kids come in and they're ready to go. Like they're ready to work. They're not like they're there to get an education according to the school. So that they're actually courting them because they're easier and they don't have as many problems. Because I think a lot of them they're mature because they've learned to kind of govern themselves. Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, good note to end on. Wonderful talking about this. I love talking to other homeschooling parents and unschooling parents, because so many people that I talk to say, all right, so you're homeschooling. Is there anyone else that's doing that? Are you the only Are you the only one? And you're like, yeah, I'm the only one. I tried to find someone on Facebook, but no one else. Right. I'm the pioneer, in this. Yeah. Wow. So I've interviewed so many people, so I just send people my interviews. I'm like, look at a bunch of these people that are doing it, and you can actually hear the way they're doing it and the effect it's having on their children. And it's a wonderful thing. It's like, these are testimonials. You're a testimonial to me. So that's why I love talking about this. So thank you very much, Sherry, for sharing the life of your homeschooling family. Really appreciate it. So before we go, I always ask all of my guests, give me like a quote, your favorite quote of all time. It does. Favorite quote of all time. Yeah, it doesn't have to be related to voluntarism, not necessarily, but whatever. What do you think? There are so many good ones related to voluntarism. I'm really kind of not thinking of it at the moment, but there's one I really like, and it's by Winston Churchill, actually, which always surprises me. And now I'm trying to think of what it is. I had a head injury once, so sometimes it's hard for me to things will be in there and it's hard to get them out. Blame the head injury. All right. Right. Well, that's probably not what it is. I've been reading a lot of H.L. Mencken quotes lately. I really need to read his work. He's so brilliant. Yeah, gosh, I can't think of it. I'm really sorry. Yeah, he's got a bunch of good ones. H.L. Mencken. And I don't even know if he considered himself an anarchist. Probably, because he did. Oh yes, he was an anarchist. Oh, he did consider. Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, I know one that is my very favorite, actually. Ooh. I made a sign for it. Nice. I keep it in my office. It's "Fear is the Mind Killer." Ooh. And that is from Dune. And there's a whole little paragraph that goes along with it. But that is actually one of my very favorite quotes of all time. All right. Because I think when you live in fear, you really do kill your ability to make the best decisions. And that's why the state wants to keep us afraid of the other side. They're going to do this to us and, play that left-right those positions against you because they can control you when you're afraid of everything. So I really love that.
Oh yeah, statism is founded in fear. You're right. You know, fear of the rich, fear of the poor, fear of illegals, fear of blacks, fear of other countries, fear of other religions. Fear. You're right. Fear
of homeschooling.
Fear of homeschooling. Exactly. It reminds me of a great meme or cartoon, which is you see one side of the river. It's like building and a ship and a church, and then the other side is the same exact buildings, church, building. You remember this cartoon? And then it's like the building is like our noble government, and then the church is like our blessed church, and then it's like the villages are wonderful people, and then the other side is like those savage people, that decrepit building, that those criminals over there. It's like the same exact thing. So we I always like to tell people that we have more in common with the average Iraqi citizen than we do with our own political masters.
That's very true.
So, people, their fear is misguided, of what they should be afraid or what they should concern themselves with, basically,
Yeah. So. And I along those same lines, I always tell people, if someone bombed your children or shot them with a drone, wouldn't you hate them too? Yeah. Like, don't you they don't think blowback's real. Like, bring it home to them. Like, if something happened to your children, wouldn't you want to kill these people? Like, I would. I don't blame them for hating the United States government, but they don't understand that we're not really part of that. We don't have any say over that.
Exactly. We didn't pull the trigger, right?
Yeah.
Well, wonderful conversation, Sherry. Thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate it. So this is Peaceful Anarchism on the Voluntary Virtues Network, on theconsciousresistance.com and solpodcast.org. Wishing all of you have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this content and would like to see more of it, please feel free to donate and help me interview other fascinating people. You can do so through Patreon. That's patreon.com/peacefulanarchism to help me out. $1 a show is all I ask. If you feel so inclined to donate more, please feel free. It will only assist me in spreading the message of freedom and voluntarism that much farther and that much more efficiently. You can also donate to my Bitcoin. My Bitcoin address is in the description to my videos, as well as on my website, peacefulanarchism.com. And while you're on my site, there's a donate button to donate through PayPal. If you prefer to donate through PayPal, you can do so with that. But Patreon is a little bit easier for content creators, as you can set up a recurring donation if you so desire. Also, while you're on my website, peacefulanarchism.com, please feel free to sign up, enter your email address, sign up for my newsletter, and you'll receive updates every time I post something, a video or an interview. I do not send out any spam. Or you can also follow me on Facebook under facebook.com/peacefulanarchism or facebook.com/Danilo Cuellar 3, I believe, Danilo Cuellar 3. So either one of those methods, if you are able to donate, I would be most appreciative. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a magnificent day.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.